Welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Drink a Little podcast where we talk about exploring the world of wine and spirits while not letting it take over your life. My name is Kelly Doherty. I'm a joyful child of God and a certified life coach. I'm also a wine educator and wine and spirits brand designer. I'll show you how you can navigate your relationship with alcohol and how that mindset spills over into the rest of your life. We'll learn about the world of wine and spirits together, all while bolstering your confidence that you can have boundaries around alcohol and live your most amazing life. This is episode 20, and it is called Conscious. And how this works is we taste a little at the top of the show, and then we see where that particular wine leads us into talking about the world of mindful drinking. And today we're going to do a little tasting and explore the 2022 Conscious Pinot Noir from Oregon. And I just think this would be so funny to bring to any holiday party and just plop it on the table. Conscious. It might be a really good conversation starter. You never know. So this being a Pinot Noir, I'm guessing light and bright and cherry, probably some red raspberry. And I do have to address when I first started drinking wines, I heard of Pinot Noir. It's very popular. And you know that Cabernet is also very popular. So somehow in my brain, I put those two things together. And I thought, oh, it must be just very bold and dry. And that's the goal of where you want to graduate to with wine. So I actually ignored Pinot Noir for quite a serious amount of time. So that's not true. It is a dry red wine, but part of what we're trying to do here is just expose you to different styles of wines because they really are so different. And sometimes you can hear one thing and it can just stick in your mind and be totally wrong. And that goes for any topic, right? But I just want you to be conscious about your wine perceptions and your preconceived notions and just keep trying new wines with an open mind. And Pinot Noir actually became so popular because it is light and bright and approachable. So let's get a little bit in our glass and give it a swirl. A little sniff. And it really is very cherry, almost a raspberry jam or confected raspberries. Lovely. You taste it. And it does have some light oak, vanilla, light tobacco smoke, but the oak is very subtle. And it doesn't have a lot of oak aging on it because it is a 2022, so it couldn't have been in there for too long. So there's not that deep, earthy character that if there's a longer aged Pinot Noir that can get that earthiness. Pinot Noir is great. It's very flexible. It can go with chicken, it can go with beef, it can go with pork. I am tasting this slightly chilled. So in the fridge, 20 or 30 minutes. And that just helps balance the wine because if it's served directly at room temperature as a light red wine, you might perceive a little bit more alcohol in that, and the chill on it just helps to balance it out. So this is kind of an obvious one where we are going with the name Conscious on a wine, but let's address why they named it Conscious as winemakers. So they're coming at it, I think, from a sustainability and environmentally friendly space. So I want to share their thoughts on the back before I go to our coaching thoughts. And they say, wine is simple, the world is not. How true. We strive to keep our world simple farming, simple winemaking, clear objectives, clear conscious. We put back what we take out. We care for what needs caring, love what needs love, and enjoy what needs enjoyed. Join us, join the conscious movement, be conscious. So possibly very deliberate branding there, but yes, be conscious. So this conscious concept that we've been talking about for not over drinking, be conscious about what's going on in your mind and then seeing how that leads to what you're actually drinking and putting in your body. And yes, I will preach that till the cows come home, whenever those cows come home. But be aware of what you're thinking right before you do anything is the first step of awareness and the first step in order to change anything in our lives. So I do want to talk about consciousness today for holidays specifically. And we are, at least in the US, coming into a busy holiday season. It's prime time for us not to be conscious of what we're doing. For some reason, this time of year, we get really busy and we get less conscious. We get out of our own routines that we know are amazing for us. And we go into some sort of numbed out process. And some people, it can look like taking this numbness as a reset, and that really works for them. And some people, it doesn't work for them at all. And they're not being conscious about what they're doing, what they're eating, what they're drinking. And it's almost like there's too much good all at one time, and we get overjoyed, we get over full, we get over consuming. So I'm here to just remind you, think about what is the most vibrant way you want to go through the holidays. How can you be more of who you want to be and not let patterns of the past define that for you? So I have a fun little story here that has gone through my chosen family for years to show that questioning what we have done, what our families have done in the past, may not be sacred ground, and it can be thought about consciously and changed for the better. So this is a fun story about a pot roast. And there was a young girl that when she got her own home for the holidays, she invited her family over. And so her mom and her grandmother were there, and there have been lots of traditions handed down to her. And so she wanted to do the tradition of cooking the family pot roast that from grandma's recipe. So she got grandma's recipe. She did everything exactly as it said. And before she put the roast in the pan, she cut the end of it off and she threw it out. That wasn't written in the recipe, but it's what she'd seen her mom do. And so her husband came in and asked, well, why are you cutting off the end of that pot roast and just basically throwing that away? It doesn't make any sense. And she said, I don't know. That's just what my mom did. So they called her mom into the kitchen and she's like, okay, yeah, I cut off the end of the pot roast, but I don't know why I did it. That's just what my mom did. So then they called grandma into the kitchen and said, well, we've been cutting the end off the pot roast and throwing it for years because that's our tradition. That's how you taught us. And they were waiting. They were asking, like, what is the brilliant sage advice that grandma was about to give of why she did this and how that made the pot roast taste amazing, I'm sure. And grandma said, well, my pot was too small, so I cut off the end so it could all fit in the pot. And so now these people have just been throwing that part of the pot roast away for years, and their pot was not too small. They just didn't question anything. And it's like they weren't being conscious of it. It wasn't a terrible thing, but they were trying to be kind and traditional, but it didn't make sense for what was going on today. So be conscious about what you've been handed and things you're labeling as tradition, and ask yourself if they are the best and highest good for you and your family today. And maybe you can delete some things and create some new things. And maybe you'll learn something wonderful of why you've been doing some of these traditions. And you can up-level them yourself and highlight them even better. So who knows what can come up if you consciously look into what you are thinking, what you are doing, and ask some questions over the holidays when you have those loved ones around you. And I know it's super hard to bring up the idea of changing something around the holidays to many family members. And so maybe this holiday you choose something really, really small to look at and change and see how it goes. So this goes for your holiday traditions of drinking as well. Make sure your traditions are soul-centered, that they're serving you. They're conscious traditions, not drinking for the sake of drinking or drinking for the sake of blotting things away. I get it. I am here for you if that's what's going on for you. Please reach out. And that is the conscious things that I have for you this week. So fun. And I will share with you next week a favorite wine of many people, and it's called Chateauneuf de Pape. And it's just like, that sounds crazy. It took me forever to figure out how to say that, but it's very classic, approachable, easy Grenache forward blend from the Rhone region of France. And this is a fun one. You won't want to miss it. But if you are working on how to bring your drinking to a more conscious level, I do teach at a deeper level. I have a one-on-one coaching program that we can tailor to your needs, where we cover how to stop over drinking, how to love yourself for all the right reasons, and emotional well-being. Go to kellydoherty.com/cheers to learn more. I'll see you next week.